with today's partner-led session on Power BI with ProLytics. I'd also like to introduce today's speakers, Will Liang, Managing Director of ProLytics Consulting Group, one of our distinguished partners here at Vena, and in fact, our new partner of the year for 2021. Will is also joined by Vena customer and power user Kevin Hearne, FP&A Manager at Living Water International. Today's session will be focused on unleashing your business-wide data strategy with engaging and interactive dashboards built in Power BI to easily communicate complex financial business intelligence. Of course, in line with our commitment to powering your personal growth, this session is CPE, CPG eligible. To earn and access your CPE credit, please respond to the polling questions towards the end of the session. And with that being said, I'll now pass it over to Will to begin our session.
Thank you, TJ. Good afternoon, attendees. Thank you again for your interest in joining us on our Vena Excelerate session today. I'm excited for the topics we'll be covering. We're going to discuss a little bit of Power BI, the Vena connector, the embedded Power BI experience, and go over some best practices on telling data stories with these dashboarding tools. I'm also thrilled to be joined by one of our customers, Kevin, FP&A Manager over at Living Water International. Over to our agenda today. First, I would like to provide a brief overview of ProLytics, our service offerings, and our company vision. Next, we'll go over an introduction to Power BI, how Vena has utilized it as a reporting and analytical tool within its product offering. Third, I'm sure most of you are excited and here for this. I get the pleasure of interviewing Kevin to talk about their story and journey with Vena and Power BI. And of course, as TJ mentioned, to earn your CPA credits, I have to share some knowledge today as well. I will provide some ProLytics suggested strategies towards data storytelling. And we'll close the session off by looking at how we can leverage these new technologies available to us to create those meaningful data story. And of course, we'll wrap off the session by going through the polling questions. Of course, a little bit about me and my story. My name is William. I have over 13 years of experience in consulting services, working directly with companies to implement software solutions across different industries and platforms. My role today at ProLytics, it's a rewarding one. I get the opportunity to work alongside our customers, our partners, and our consulting team, find, design, and implement planning and reporting solutions that help our clients with their day-to-day processes. Over to who we are. ProLytics is a business and technology consulting firm with many years of experience working with clients implement planning and financial analytics solutions that work for their business. Our vision, our customer success is a measure of our success. This is how we operate, and we hold these standards in all our services engagements. Next slide here, a few selected customers we have been fortunate enough to work with, implement and deploy Vena-related solutions with. Our expertise. Our team has worked extremely hard to obtain the top-tier distinguished partner status with Vena. And fresh off the press, as TJ has mentioned, I want to take this opportunity to share that we were awarded 2022 Vena Partner of the Year, a huge honor for our team here. To wrap up this expertise slides, we also hold a silver data analytics partnership with Microsoft, as we have a huge focus on the Power BI platform. In summary, ProLytics is a go-to partner if you're looking for training, implementation help, and want to continue maximizing your Vena investment. This is all backed by our experience, our exceptional customer success stories, and proven track record to deliver. Now, on to the heart of our session today, where we'll explore and talk Power BI. First off, you may ask, what is Power BI? So to describe this powerful platform in a few points, Power BI is an interactive data visualization software product developed by Microsoft with a primary focus on self-service BI. Power BI also supports a huge list of supported data source connectors which allows us to bring data securely from our different organization data sources together into Power BI for transformation, modeling, and producing dashboards and reporting. Beyond just producing fancy looking graphs and charts, we can visualize our data and through this unified scalable platform that's easy to use and allow our users to gain deeper data insights. Ultimately, this enables our users to quickly make reporting and data-driven decisions. Microsoft Power BI is an industry leader for analytics and BI platforms as positioned by Gartner. And Microsoft hasn't stopped to continue to add new features and extensions to make the product interface even more user-friendly and accessible for different types of users and not just geared towards data engineers. You may ask, what are some common benefits of having a BI tool like Power BI? Like I said, it goes way beyond just fancy dashboarding. Companies can leverage the tool and its capabilities to potentially report and detect trends, identify outliers, and areas of improvements. The tool can also perform scenario planning to anticipate the future with different market conditions. On the revenue and business planning end, a tool like this can potentially help identify new opportunities as well as buying patterns in our customers. I'm sure you have been hearing about this the past couple of days. Vena and Microsoft Power BI has made a lot of investments and advances to combining its technologies for our users. So currently, Vena is a certified Power BI connector, and it's available to bring data from your Vena data models into the Power BI workspace. So through the Vena connector, your metadata, your cubes, your hierarchies, the values can be brought over into Power BI, which then can be further transformed, combined, and modeled with your other data sources. This then can be leveraged to report and disseminate this data and information to users across your company. We'll see this in action a little bit later on in the presentation with Kevin. The latest feature, Vena Power BI Embedded Experience. This actually brings the Power BI Builder directly into Vena to build measures and visualization and reporting on the fly. Onto our customer story. I'm sure you all been waiting to hear about how another Vena customer have been able to leverage Power BI with its Vena solution. Again, I'm happy to be joined by Kevin Hearne, FP&A manager from Living Water, a dear client of ours that we've worked with last year on its Power BI project. Hey, Kevin, how are you doing?
Doing well. Happy to be here, William.
Thank you. If you don't mind, maybe perhaps provide a company overview of Living Water International for the attendees today. Talk a little bit about the business, its goals, and perhaps a little bit about yourself as well.
Yeah. So Living Water International, we exist to show the love of God by providing safe and clean water to individuals around the world. We were founded in 1990, and since then have successfully drilled and completed over 20,000 water projects as of this year. And so we implemented Vena 2 years ago. We were just talking about that. And so the logical next step for us was to explore Power BI to be able to bring all our data into one kind of connected source across our different, varying systems. And so we have been experiencing growing pains as a large organization operating in 18 countries, utilizing QuickBooks as our, finance module, and while also using Salesforce for our, our programs and development reps. And so trying to bring all of that data together. I've been with Living Water for just over 3 years now in the FP&A role, and it's it's an exciting time to be here because we are, kind of trying to make all these changes and, position the organization to be more agile, with the use of Vena and Power BI to make more real-time decisions. And so it's exciting to be a part of that and be able to help kind of, implement that and set up the organization for success.
Thank you, Kevin. You and I actually met last year during Vena Nation 2021. Obviously, you've had already gone through a cycle of budgeting with Vena. Tell us a little bit more about what you were looking for last year. What was the mindset behind looking for leveraging Power BI, this connector? Anything for the audience to kind of shed light on? What were the decisions behind that?
Yeah, so Vena was implementing Vena was huge because we were able to we actually have 18 instances of QuickBooks. And so we're able to bring all of that into Vena for the first time. But there's still that lag, basically of just a month-end reporting cycle. And so we were interested in getting more of that real-time information and data. This time last year at Vena Nation, I met with William and several other vendors, and we're really looking for that vendor that had the expertise to utilize Power BI and kind of with best business practices in mind, with experience with Vena and particularly Salesforce, and so that was William was they kind of met those, and definitely met those needs. They were the kind of a top contender in that, and their Power BI experience was definitely kind of unsurpassed, and made it a clear choice for us.
Thank you, Kevin. Yeah, like I said, this was almost felt like a full circle moment for us, to meet last year and then come back this year for you to join us in this session and present. So very grateful and proud for this. Now, back more on Living Water, a few more background questions on your vision with data and BI within the Office of Finance at Living Water. So question here for me, what was the initial driver for adopting a Power BI-based BI reporting solution? Were you looking at other tools, or what's kind of Power BI a front runner in your decision?
Yeah, Power BI was always kind of a front runner. We have kind of dabbled in it, I guess, but we've never really had the capacity as an organization to really fully utilize it or implement it. And so, it was more of it was an easier kind of first step for us, transitioning from Excel, Vena report, Excel reports from Vena to be able to provide more of that real-time view, and dashboarding for our executive team. And, ultimately we hope to, kind of roll that out towards our board as well.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. You mentioned you dabbled in Power BI a little bit. Now, was there any familiarity coming up? Obviously, you guys are very skilled in utilizing Excel, but even when writing things like measures, using DAX functions and formulas, was there any transferable skills or anything like that was helpful along the way?
Yeah, I mean, your Excel skills, can easily be utilized and kind of transition into Power BI. DAX is a syntax, more than anything else, similar to writing formulas in Excel. So it's learning the syntax, and then if you use Power Pivot at all, the Power Query and Power BI will be very familiar to you, and kind of makes sense. And so it's similar to Excel in the way that it's very logical and kind of easy to pick up and learn. And there's no way you can ever know all of Excel. There's no way you can ever know all of Power BI. So it's a continuous journey, learning journey, and learning new tricks as you the further along that you get.
Right, definitely. As I mentioned earlier, that one of the pros of Power BI, the ability to bring different data across different data sources. Can you tell us a little bit about what data sources you are utilizing, and if you can hone in on the ability and to integrate with the Vena solution, that would be great.
Yeah, so we initially got the Power BI connector because we were looking to take our Vena reports to that next level, and were able to set it up and kind of start working with it ourselves, and quickly, realize that we needed the additional capacity that William and his team could provide, so that we could build the necessary reports and get the views that we were wanting, in a timely manner. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. How about the different data sources? Can we chat about what data we're bringing over from Salesforce and Metaphor?
Yeah. So there's obviously Vena, which is pulling or consolidating all of our QuickBooks entities, and then we have Salesforce, which basically houses we import our revenue from Salesforce into QuickBooks, and so our revenue is coming from Salesforce, along with our programmatic indicators. Our team is now tracking those in Salesforce as well. And so there was really a strong desire to be able to bring all of those different data sets into one place. And then HR as well. Our Metaphor, our system, is difficult to integrate in a real-time manner, but being able to use flat file CVS files and import data that way, and connect it to Power BI, so that those are at least updating on a regular basis once we do the exports for that. So that was the biggest kind of driver, is just being able to connect all of that, all those separate data sources into one location, and have it accessible and easy to push out to our end users, so that they can see the data and be able to make decisions based on more real time, as opposed to kind of what happened in the previous month.
Right. And yourself, like many of our other customers, Vena is the source of truth for our budget data, right? So I know a lot of the dashboards and visualizations we build is to compare that actual against our planned budget, correct?
Right. And so, we're pulling in actuals and then doing our budget in Vena, but we're also budgeting our program indicators in Vena. So there was that disconnect there, where trying to look at a budget versus actual for program indicators was, a little difficult, and required some additional manual work. And so that was another kind of driver as well, to be able to marry those two, budget and actual, in two separate systems, and have just one source of truth as far as a reporting tool goes.
Right on. What were some of the performance gains or improvement gains that you've seen with the project?
Yeah, so just the financials alone, all of that data coming in is, that saves us days, really. Just being able to consolidate all of that, and instead of, my boss, who's the CFO, he's the one that primarily still prepares the books. And so, he was going in and having to export data from QuickBooks. And, that just takes time to export all those trial balances, and doing all of that in Excel. So he's been excited because, right now he just pushes a button and he's able to see, on a screen, where he's at, but also, he has that available on his phone, which is a big win for him. And the CEO really is, the mobile capability of Power BI as well.
That's excellent. On to part two. As with all our projects, we spend a lot of time at the beginning to understand the need and requirements before we move into the actual build. Can you tell us a little about our requirements process, what it was like, and what were some of the priorities that Living Water had?
Yeah, so ProLytics was very, from the start, was very collaborative in the way that they worked. And so really bringing us in, in the design sessions, trying to making sure they understood our data model, and then, looking at our KPIs, determining what we actually wanted to measure and be able to report on, and then starting to turn those into visualizations. And they have a kind of a template that they use that was very helpful as far as actually building out a dashboard. Blocking out a dashboard really, and determining what visualizations would be used, and how that visualization would be created, and the measures necessary in order to create that, and then determining custom metrics that they would need to create as necessary, and then just talking about how the visualization itself looked and kind of what what we were hoping to get out of it. So as far as priorities, we needed one of the big things we need or wanted was dimensionality between departments, especially. So being able to filter by department, being able to use the same report by country, and just having that either having a senior team or executive team staff member being able to filter by country if they wanted, or kind of the row level security where a country manager logs in and he only sees his country's data, and so those were probably the two biggest things, and then obviously like we've talked about, just the ability to refresh on a regular recurring basis, so that it's much more closer to real time data as opposed to just into the previous month.
Right. All excellent points there. I know we had a note here that you guys were a non-calendar fiscal year, right? So I know we had some work in building out a date table that give you that capability to report both from a calendar year as well as the time intelligence to report on the fiscal year as well, right?
Yeah, and that was that in and of itself was interesting coming into Vena, and kind of having to transition, just looking at the year and period, and so, as opposed to a separate date. But then having to kind of back that out again on the Power BI side in order to actually generate the correct fiscal calendar was huge, and being able to do that was a big win.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. You may have touched upon a little bit of this already as you were going through this. What were some must-have requirements for the project and then within the dashboards?
Yeah, really just pushing our data out and trying to make it more accessible was the biggest must-have. And we knew we had a good idea of what we needed as far as visualizations, but being able to actually go through a process, a formal process to define those was very helpful, and kind of confirmed what we thought we needed, and found out maybe we don't actually need that, and so let's do this instead. So that was something that we thought we knew going in, but that going through the process with ProLytics, kind of shed some light on that. But then, again, dimensionality and kind of that row level security, being able to, parse the data out based on, country and such at the different levels of the organization was a huge win.
Now, obviously, Kevin and I had spoken a lot about the dashboards we've deployed. Of course, pictures worth 1,000 words. So we're going to actually showcase two of the dashboards that we had built out. I'm going to now toggle into, let's begin with the finance dashboard, Kevin. If you don't mind, if you could talk us through the dashboard, perhaps beginning with the different data sources we're bringing in here, the data story that we were trying to tell, and then move on to the individual, visualizations that may be interesting to point out to our audience.
Yeah. So this is our finance dashboard, and I guess we'll start at the bottom. The balance sheet and the income statement are obviously two of the standard financial package and reporting tools, but being able to have those available on a real-time basis, has made my life, my boss's life much easier, to say the least. And so, understanding where we are, but then, the other thing that he's really interested in is the current cash versus projected, which is those those two on the left. So just kind of looking at the basically taking the data from Vena and looking at actuals and then comparing that to budget to be able to determine, where we have projected cash would be based on what we said our budget would be, and then compare that to what our actual cash is, and kind of rolling that metric forward, through the full fiscal year, July to June there, and having a good understanding of where where we might have issues, or when we might need to take a look at our line of credit or something like that. And then working capital is another big indicator for him and the finance committee and the board, just having an understanding of where we are on actual cash on hand, and what that means as far as number of days that we have, that we can continue to work. The other two big visuals there, the other is the cost per analysis. And so this is something we look at on an annual basis when we do our budget. It's something that we really kind of scrutinize and try to get an understanding of. And so having it this way, where we are able to actually see that on a real-time basis, month over month, and understanding where things have, we've maybe spent some, or it's cost more for some reason, or there's been, slowdown in production for some reason, having that be highlighted here in these two visuals was really big for us. And so, we see the approved budget there. So those are figures coming from, so that's cost and indicators that are coming from Vena, but then the actual there is going to be that mix of cost from Vena, and then actual indicator from Salesforce.
Brilliant. You mentioned the importance of the ability to slice by department or by any dimension. I do see here we've built out a departmental slicer here to kind of filter the data, right? Now, does this get looked at an individual program or department level, or typically here? Yep. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so typically it starts, at this level, and then from as far as like the cost pers and working capital and income statement and all, those are kind of the standard financial reports. That's where that row level security comes into play also, and being able to provide this to a country manager for him to be able to see just his country, or the CFO, CEO, or COO, the chief officers, they can drill down to a specific country to answer any questions that they may have, or if they just are interested in how one country is doing, they have that capability as well.
Mm-hmm. Now, you mentioned these key KPIs that we had built out along the way in the project. Majority of these would be built based off measures and leverages DAX language within Power BI. How comfortable are you now in building some of these DAXs on your own, adding to this dashboard if needed in the future?
Yeah, we definitely view this as a business intelligence 1.0 as an organization. And so, one of the reasons another reason we went with ProLytics was to help, have them come in and lay the foundation and create these dashboards here to give us a solid foundation, so that then we can, add to and build upon ourselves. And so, DAX is, I feel pretty comfortable with DAX. For the most part, there is a bit of a learning curve. I will admit that, but it's again, same as Excel formulas. Once you know and use them, they start to make sense, and you then you learn about other more complicated formulas from there.
Right. Anything else you want to share on the finance dashboard, or should I move over to our operational dashboard?
No, I think if we go to the operational dashboard, that'll be good.
All right.
Yeah.
Kevin?
So yeah.
Same
Yeah.
thing.
So
talk us through the data story, the use of the different visualization. I know we got a pretty fancy heat map going on here as well. So yeah. Walk us through this.
Absolutely. So basically that table there on the left is kind of those are all of our main indicators that we report on every month. So the actuals are coming from Salesforce, and then the target is coming from Vena budgets, and then some DAX variance analysis there, and total year target as well. So total year target is the annual budget from Vena. And then we have the ability to slice between country and fiscal year. We typically just look at these actuals on a year-to-date basis as opposed to one particular month's activity. So we were able to select the end month there, and then on the right side, we again are kind of focused mainly on water users, and then water projects. We do a lot of we do a lot more than water, but those are still our main primary indicators. And so tracking year to date where we are against target. So setting a goal there, and tracking how we're doing against goal. And so like this one here on the water projects, you can see so the 756 is the annual total. We've completed 66, and then the blue line there is I believe that's actuals. I'm sorry, we changed the data, or the numbers.
All randomized.
So I'm a little a little confused right now, but that's that should be kind of the budget, year-to-date budget of where we are, and then the red is obviously the 66, how we're doing compared to budget, and then being able to see the total year, and then below that we have a kind of a subsection of with another set of slicers to be able to choose any specific indicator and see how it has trended across the year, and then the heat map as well kind of updates to show kind of where are those indicators coming from, which countries are those indicators coming from, and which ones are doing well, and are successfully completing a large number of those indicators, or compared to or where do we maybe need to see why countries not doing as many.
Mm-hmm. You brought up a good point along the way, Kevin, like the ability in Power BI to apply filters and slicers, not to have it expand or impact across the dashboard. You also have the option, it sounds like here, that we've limited it to only this section, that these slicers will only impact the visualizations in this area, correct?
Correct. Yeah.
All right. Right. Anything else on this dashboard that we want to showcase?
I don't think so. Other than to say that this, this is one that has been copy and pasted, screenshot, and goes directly into like our board report. Our quarterly board report. But then it's one of those that we hope to in the future embed it, kind of on our website and have it accessible, for the appropriate level of users. So whether that be, we embed something on our website for anyone to see, or if we embed something like this on a board website that is password protected or something like that, just being able to provide that access to the end user with real-time data, so they can just whatever they're curious, or the questions they have, they're able to kind of drill down and see what's going on.
Brilliant. Okay. All right, so back to our presentation here. Obviously, we saw the final output of the dashboards. I'm sure the audience may be curious about the whole building experience and how we got to that end product as well. So, Kevin, if you could share some considerations for end user rollout, adoption. I know you touched upon this a lot, with row level security and making sure that the right roles and permissions are set up for different parts of the organization, right? Yep. Is there anything else that you want to elaborate on or add in there?
Just to reiterate that, the row level security was a big one for us, and then being able to provide data on a reliable, real-time, easy access for our end users, to the point of, again, mobile capability is kind of something that we're really interested in and expanding, and being able to provide that to our executive team on on their phone, so that they have access to it, easy access to it, whenever they like.
Mm-hmm. Now, the second question, we all know that implementations are not always easy. So I do want to ask Hearne, how your feedback, your honest feedback on the process, your overall experience with the implementation.
Yeah, we again, we consider this a business intelligence 1.0, and so it was laying the foundation. And so it was as much as us working with ProLytics and ProLytics working with us, and kind of figuring out how each other worked and what worked for each group. As I think it goes with any project, data validation was took a little longer than everyone would have liked, but that's I think that's the nature of implementations in general. And so being able to allow them to come in and set and again lay the foundation, kind of set the building blocks, so that we can continue to iterate and kind of through agile project management, kind of start to make it small improvements that long term really build from there.
Certainly. I think you nailed it there, Kevin. It all starts with the data. I'm going to talk a little bit more about that too. So that whole data validation exercise, getting the data right, getting it formatted, for our end users, and getting that whole process before it gets to those dashboards that we saw at the very end. It's an undertaking. So again, I'm glad that we were able to get to that end result together. Okay.
Yeah, absolutely.
Final question here, Kevin, for you today. For our audience that are looking to build something similar, if you can share some key takeaways or considerations from your experience before engaging in a Power BI Venna project, what would they be?
Yeah, definitely getting the right resources involved, and having a good understanding of who your audience is, and the story that you are trying to tell, that specific audience, but also keeping in mind that that can be flexible as far as having one dashboard that has many different views based on the end user, and getting your data and necessary KPIs ready. I mentioned at the beginning that we had too many KPIs really, and so going through this process helped us to kind of hone in on what was absolutely necessary, what we viewed as important for the organization, and being able to draw those in and bring those up to the top so that they are readily available for our decision makers to be able to see and know how to move from there. And then working with an experienced partner like ProLytics was huge, because they had that experience in Power BI, in Salesforce, in Vena. Those were the three main systems we were looking to bring together, and they are able to provide that knowledge and capacity that would have taken us probably years. They were able to provide an excellent product for us.
Thank you, Kevin. Again, I think you nailed a good few points there. Again, it's with these Power BI dashboarding, BI implementations, it's much more like a business transformation as much as it's a technology problem. So it's, again, I'm super glad that we got to this stage with ProLytics and Living Water. So I want to thank you again, Kevin, for all the insight you shared today. I'm sure the audience had a lot to take away from everything you've shared today. Appreciate it again.
Yeah, it was my pleasure.
All right, now on to our knowledge session, the importance of data storytelling. Now let's assume that all the legwork and getting the data brought in, cleaned, and we're ready to go and share information with our end users. The next step is to construct an effective data story, a theme that we've been discussing on and on again through the past couple of days. And in other words, what constructing a data story means it's how we communicate and have our users interpret and use the data that we present to them. Now, we can't just rely on data visualization alone. There's no point if we build the flashiest dashboards and graphs and visualizations if our users can't understand and use the data. So we've came up with a few key elements of telling an effective data story. When building a data story, there are three essential components to look out for. Number one, as we mentioned earlier, data. Number two, telling the narrative. And then three, leveraging the correct and right visuals. Data is the first component, so we got to make sure we get the right data. So that the prerequisite is to have the right data to support the story. The data must be timely, and most importantly, accurate, auditable, and traceable. Actionable metrics. We should make the most important metrics stick out and easily readable by our end users. As you can see in the demonstration that we saw at Living Waters, we identified those key KPIs. We honed in on the specific ones that we needed. We wanted to present very quickly at the fingertips to management. Data synthesis techniques. So as mentioned, data cannot be analyzed until it's formatted correctly, and depending on the type of analysis that needs to happen. So some techniques to transform our data for insight include building calculations and data points. So for some examples, we'll be building out averages, growth rates, etc. So think about this in the Vena world as calculated members. Aggregation. The ability to combine data from different data area, data sources, and aggregate. Think about this as rolling up data in Vena through your data model and hierarchies. Third, choosing the right graph for the right attention. This is really important. I'll cover more of that in a later slide. Using regression lines to observe trending and extrapolate for the future, right? So you've seen the use of line graphs. We really want to leverage the AI capabilities within Power BI to further extrapolate out. Last but not least, building status indicators to quickly view your KPIs and compare your actuals versus target. So if there's something that needs to be alerted, those are indicated quickly and right away to our end user. For each dashboard that we construct, we should tell an intentional story to engage our end users. For example, again, when we saw with the different dashboards that at Living Waters, they each told its individual story. Strategies to implement effectively. First, listen to your audience and tailor the dashboard as needed. Identify the metrics and insights that matter most. And last but not least, personalize the data for them. Visuals. Although I did mention earlier that visuals is not all that matters, but visuals does, at the end of the day, engage our users on an informative and emotional level. Some best practices and tips that we've came up here in dashboard design. First, place a lot of emphasis with colors, because colors can emphasize the meaning of each data visuals, and also do consider utilizing a colorblind friendly palette. Just some general rule of thumbs here is not to use too many colors on your dashboards, and choose a color palette that is widely accessible for our users. Second tip, leverage the upper left corner of your dashboards. That's important for design placement. We want to make sure our visuals are easily identifiable and understandable at the first glance. That's why leveraging that upper left corner is very significant, as that's naturally how our brain operates. Our brain are trained to start at the top left corner of the report, and most users skim the reports in the F-like pattern, and they spend most of their time in that top upper section of the dashboard. That's why we typically put our key KPIs up there. Power BI does offer a huge library of visualizations and visuals that can be utilized. Now, as I mentioned earlier, not every visualization is the same, and certain ones are definitely better suited for certain data sets. Next slide here. Venna Power BI pre-built dashboards with best practices. So we've incorporated some of these best practices that I've mentioned throughout this session to build out Venna-based Power BI dashboards that our clients can quickly leverage to deploy. We are demoing this at our booth, so do make sure that you swing by and see these in action. To close out, I hope the audience today enjoyed our session, found it informative, and have some takeaways. To learn more and chat with us further, there's couple of different mediums. You can head over to our booth. We also have a discussion forum going on. You can find the link through the Slido at the end of the session. Of course, you can contact me directly at wliang@prolyticsgroup.com, or you can always find us on our website at www.prolyticsgroup.com. That said, that does conclude our session. I'm going to hand it off to TJ, who will assist and run through the polling questions for your CPE credits.
Yeah, thanks, Will. So like Will said, we're now going to spend just a couple minutes here going through a few of those polling questions. So please submit your responses as those questions come up. If we can just move to the next slide here. So before we get into this one, we do have one quick hand raiser question. That is, would you like a consultation with ProLytics Consulting in action? I'll just give you a couple seconds to answer that before moving into the polling questions. So just jumping into our first polling question after that hand raiser, do you currently have data analytics or BI solutions implemented in your business data and reporting strategy? Okay, and we'll move on to the next one here as well. How likely is your organization going to implement and invest in a business intelligence solution like Microsoft Power BI? And then our final question here, what are your organization's top priorities when building your business data strategy and its solutions? Okay, and with that, we will be bringing our session to a close. Just want to say thank you to all of our attendees for joining today. And a special thank you, of course, to our speakers, Will and Kevin. If there's any questions from the audience or a need for more information, please don't hesitate to reach out. You can connect with the team through this session-specific forum on plantogrow.com. There you'll actually be able to have your questions answered directly by the ProLytics team. You can also join the Vena Academy, download those CPE credits from your Excelerate sessions, which I believe will be available May 18th, along with more CPE accredited training on demand. You can also register for live and interactive events throughout the year, and it's all free, ultimately, to help power your plan to grow. You can also visit the ProLytics booth, and the team will be happy to help as well. Once again, they are our partner of the year, so have tons of experience working with Vena and can provide a wealth of knowledge in that respect. So we hope you enjoy the rest of Accelerate Week. I know there's tons of great sessions still left on the calendar, so I encourage you to check those out too. And hope you all have a great day. Thanks, everyone.